So our lead this hour does come from College Pigskin. Louisville played Ole Miss in the last matchup made for television on the Labor Day holiday weekend here in the United States. And it wasn't much of a game. Ole Miss, without their coach, Lane Kiffin, who seemed fine on television. He's got the COVID, but he was on TV quite a bit during the broadcast. And Ole Miss cleaned the clock of Louisville. And this was what's known as a boat race situation. The Rebels jumped out to a 26-0 lead, and they ended up winning the game 43-24. Someone named Snoop Connor had 2 rushing touchdowns for Ole Miss, and Matt Corral had 381 yards, he had 55 on the ground, a touchdown pass and a touchdown run. But the outcome of the game is not worthy of a MALLER monologue. The outcome takes a back seat. It is the subplot that took place in the first half of this game that rises up to the level of high crimes and misdemeanors. Now, I assume you know where I'm going with this, but maybe you didn't see the game. Maybe you're like, I don't care about Louisville and Ole Miss. Well, perhaps you missed it. So the matchup was tainted by an absurd, hostile takeover from the referees. 2 Louisville players and 2 Ole Miss defenders were ejected in the first few drives, just a few drives of the first half. It was a full-fledged circus in one stretch, and I think the last ejection was about 6 minutes before halftime. Now, some very powerful voices, important people, just ask them, they'll tell you how important they are, around college football are screaming and shouting and pounding the table for the powers that be to have this nipped in the bud, that the referees must change the way they call this. This was a Big Ten officiating crew. Lane Kiffin poking fun at that during the broadcast, one of the interviews he had during the game. But let us discuss. Simple question. Now, this was a malfeasance situation in that particular Ole Miss Louisville game. But in general, is this targeting rule in college football fair or foul? It's not new. It's been around for a while. Is it fair or foul? It is totally rotten eggs. It's foul play. Foul play. Now, my take on this, you've got Oprah, Helter Skelter, and A&E. And we will line all of these things up, and we will knock them down like dominoes. Now, to lead off, the referees should not be the story. The referees should never be the story. If the referees are the story, you've done something wrong. You've screwed something up. If we are talking about the zebras, then whatever we're talking about has gone haywire. It's gone haywire. Something has gone discombobulated. Officials should be seen, not heard. They are the elevator music. They're background noise watching these games, and the Big Ten officiating crew went full Oprah. They were Oprah Winfrey. You get a targeting penalty. You get a targeting penalty. You get a targeting penalty. Everybody gets a targeting penalty. I think the water boy got a targeting flag. It was insane. It was. I thought it was like it was parody. It was satire. As often as this happened, and this game should have been played under the big top. Because it was a circus. It was a circus. You won't believe your eyes. It is not for the squeamish or the faint of heart. It's not. Now, furthermore, like many things in life, this particular targeting rule was implemented with the best of intentions, really good intentions. It's kind of like the NCAA in general. The NCAA started because people were dying playing football and schools were stopping football altogether. So the president at the time said, we need to save college football. It's an important part of culture in America. So we need to have an oversight committee. And that is the group that eventually became the NCAA. And in the early days, it was fine. But eventually, over time, it grew into this monster. And now the monster has been tamed in recent years. But this particular rule, it's been hijacked by theater of the absurd. And at some point, you would like to say, hey, how about some common sense? How about some common sense? If it's both clear and obvious, I have no problem. If it's a dirty play, then eject the player. Now, what is a dirty play? It's like the Supreme Court definition on pornography. You know it when you see it. You know it when you see it. Was there malicious intent? Was there defensive malfeasance? Otherwise, if you still want to throw a penalty, I think it's absurd, but the 15-yard penalty and let the players continue in the game, I'd be more akin to sign off on that. But what's going on right now, when you have to pump the brakes and spend 10 minutes, 10 good minutes looking at 12 different camera angles, it's not clear and it's not obvious that this is an ejectable situation. And so many of these targeting things are incidental or accidental. And that's probably the better word, accidental. And so there are so many inconsistencies that to enforce this, it's this helter-skelter approach. And you're at the mercy of whatever officiating crew you happen to, the luck of the draw, you happen to get. Like, for example, the game on Monday night with Ole Miss and Louisville, that happened to be a Big Ten officiating crew. If that had been an officiating crew from the Pac-12, would those 4 players have been ejected? It's one of our pet peeves with refereeing in general that most of the calls are subjective, they're not objective. You have a bunch of blithering idiots interjecting themselves into the game using the old line, out of an abundance of caution. You can say that about anything. Right? I am talking into this microphone out of an abundance of caution. Right? So let me give you football for idiots. For a defensive player, if you've ever played Pop Warner or high school football, for a defensive player to tackle another moving human being, you literally and figuratively have to lower your head somewhat to make a tackle. That is how you play tackle football. Running backs, if you coach a running back, what do you teach a running back, or for that matter, any offensive player? A wide receiver catches a pass, tight end catches a pass. They are about to engage with a defensive player. What do you tell the offensive player? What do you tell the defensive player? Lower your head. Running backs do it all the time. Lower your head when approaching a would-be tackler, because the rule of thumb in a confrontation, a collision, the low man wins the collision. Whoever's lower wins. Someone needs to explain this to the old geezers on the rules committee, and we don't know what's going on. Are these football people, these old football people, are they old codgers now? Dare I say, have the world of the people from the world of academia, have they come inside here, and the people that couldn't tell the difference between a football and a grapefruit, are they the ones making these decisions? And it's just absurd. Now, the last thing here. So will we see any change? Will the college football hierarchy say, you know what, let's just take a couple steps back here. Let's not eject these guys unless it's obvious they need to be ejected. Will this become a point of emphasis? And my answer to that question in the short term is don't hold your breath. And while this game on Monday was distressing, it was upsetting. I have no skin in the game at all. I don't have a dog in the fight. But it's not going to be enough. College football bureaucracy moves very slowly. It's a very tough cookie to crack, right? They are pig-headed, and they have supported bad habits. Typically, the way this works is they wait until the end of the year, and then they say, we're going to revisit this in general and see what happens. It's like they're addicted. Like, once they make a decision, and most people are like this, they don't want to change them. Once you make your decision, it's one of the reasons advertisers always look to younger people, is because by the time you get to middle age, I'll let you in a little dirty secret, by the time you reach 40, you've already decided what your favorite brand of toothpaste is, what your favorite type of beverage to drink, bottled water, whatever it might be, cell phone. You've made those decisions, and very rarely do you change. But someone younger, they think they can twist them around and get them to change their perspective. But since there is an addiction problem in college football, then may I recommend that they have a pigskin version, college pigskin version of A&E's TV show Intervention. Now, during this intervention, each participant who makes the rules and enforces them is given an ultimatum. Go into targeting rehab immediately or risk losing your privileges, right? And you'll be kicked out of the fraternity of college football. Tough love. And they can put it on one of their fledgling cable networks that needs programming. There you go.